Morning.
Me. Hi, we're on 356, lesson 356. We'd like to just take a moment and come into the quiet center of our hearts before I read this. Thank you. Sickness is but another name for sin. Healing is but another name for God. The miracle is thus a call to Him. Father, you promised you would never fail to answer any call your Son might make to you. It does not matter where he is, what seems to be his problem, or what he believes he has become. He is your Son, and you will answer him. The miracle reflects your love, and thus it answers him. Your name replaces every thought of sin, and who is sinless cannot suffer pain. Your name gives answer to your Son, because to call your name is but to call his own. Sickness is but another name for sin, and sin is the word for separation and all its so-called effects. So the mind that questioned what it would be like to be not Christ and fell asleep and dreamed the dream of bodies and private minds. The dream is geared in defending and maintaining the mythical me and its body. And one of its greatest idols in which to do that is the dream of sickness. Because sickness and pain with physical sense and the despairing mind that feels the sickness and the pain are pretty condemning witnesses to the lie that we've become bodies and separation is real. So sickness is a name, another name for sin, a way the ego uses what it uses to prove separation. Healing is only another name for God, because God has not changed. God is one, and God's creation remains as he created it, perfect and holy, innocent, sinless. So this miracle that we call out for when we think that we're mythical me and we have a problem, somebody reading this that's new to the course would scoff at this lesson. And there are so many brothers out there that are on their knees and they're crying out to God, and God does not answer their prayers. And so they would say that this is just a big wank. But thank God that we in the course have learned that God being love and God being changeless and God being the only creator, that creation remains as God is. We're so thankful that we get to learn and discover that what seems to be imperfection is not God's will and therefore never was. The miracle simply corrects our perception and our mind. It heals the split in the mind. It never heals anything. Healing is the revealing of the truth that is always present here now and for us to experience. It's exactly why Jesus came in to show us. God does not ignore or has not abandoned his son. It was the thought of separation that attempted to abandon God and using false imagery to prove that the separation has occurred. Through forgiveness of that idea of separation and accepting, giving back the kingdom, restoring the kingdom, not that it was ever taken from God, but bestowing back upon God that he is the only creator and the only power, and that we are perfect as he created us. We experience correction because the mind has been corrected. The healed and corrected mind projects healed and corrected images for a time until God takes the last step. So this healing is the healing of the mind. Those that believe in their illusions and believe that God has let its creation become imperfect and then ask God to come into the gap that we made to defy God, they are the ones that throw up their prayers. And it seems that they're not answered because what they're idolizing is the problem. Every problem is not your will, God, but my own will be done. God doesn't even hear those prayers. The idea of separation is impossible to God. It's inconceivable to the mind of God. God didn't understand the request for separation. Logically, where could we go? How could you change what is changeless and all-powerful? Where can you go? Where could you find yourself in a place outside of all? So we allow our minds to be corrected and healed in our humility, in our meekness, in the realization that there's nothing here that we want, with our faces to the floor. We forgive ourselves for the belief in sin, and we let ourselves be restored to our natural state as we always are. And that's, quote, healing. And he never fails because his promises are done. His work is already done and it's already perfect. And all we're doing is bringing ourselves back into alignment with what is. We stop trying to pretend that there's something other than what is. So it's an availing ourselves to love instead of defending ourselves against it. That's what this is all about. Okay.
Thank you, sis.
Yeah.
Beautifully explained. Thank you. And I think we can't really hear this often enough.
Yeah.
Because it's the complete antithesis to what we have been conditioned to believe.
Right.
And what the world believes. So, it's really what we're undertaking here with the lessons, with the course, is a complete reality reversal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even really advanced teachers, if you're dealing with a problem, it's very enticing to fall into why is this happening to me and why is it that I call out to God and why isn't God answering and blaming God and getting angry. I mean, I know we've all been there, railing against God. But that's the time to just get really, really quiet, and let love, let grace come back and just in a word or a thought
Mm.
can come back and flip us back into right-mindedness. I temporarily identified with the ego, which is defending itself from the love of God. I can let that go. I seek the correction of my mind, not a better healed body.
Mm.
One problem, we think we're separate. One solution, the atonement.
And we don't effort for the atonement.
No?
We don't do anything. It's a choice to accept it, receive it.
Yeah.
It's done already.
That's
We don't need to earn it, qualify for it.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact, and we can avail ourselves and place ourselves under the power of that fact, or we can dream and try to stave it off a little bit, and play with illusions for a while. Yeah, he keeps looping us back to really look at this, because the world will lull us right back into its way of thinking, and we do need to take a stand and keep, planting this and reminding, refreshing, understanding.
Yeah.
And sis, you mentioned that lesson 136, so maybe the YouTube video for lesson 136 might be a good one to go back to if you want some bolstering, or you find yourself stuck somewhere on this. That would be a good one to go to.
The other one that I just heard in my mind lesson is only salvation
Is said to cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that, like, I'm terrible with numbers, but is that 140?
Trust yourself.
I don't know. It can be said to cure. Only salvation can be said to cure. That was a very, very powerful lesson. But to understand the metaphysics of sickness, or should I say the delusion of sickness.
140, lesson 140.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Only salvation can be said to cure.
That's the other one. So lesson 136 and lesson 140.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for explaining this for all of us. I love listening to this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like, if I just picked the book up and flipped it open and read that, I would have been like, yeah, right. You know how many times I've prayed to God and he didn't answer? Well, that's the setup, right?
Yeah, that's the setup.
He's doing this to us instead of us doing this to him, as if we could. All right. That was lesson 356. Hope that was helpful.
Thank you.
We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Love you. Bye.